moving on. I'm gonna run till I drop to the break. I'm gonna stop till I see the light. I'm feeling high, my little lady. I'm gonna take it to the other side. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. You can get me high, high, high. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. We're gonna get real. Oh, I'm feeling good, my little lady. She's gonna take me to the other side. I'm feeling nice, my little lady. She's gonna keep me moving on. I'm gonna run till I drop to the break of dawn. Never gonna stop, she's gonna treat me right. I'm feeling good, my little lady. She's gonna take me to the other side. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. And you can get me high, high, high. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car. And we're gonna get real. Come on, baby. Let's take a ride. I don't know where we're gonna go, but first, let's dance. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car, and you can get me high, high, high. You know I used to smoke too much. And you know I used to drink too much. Take a ride in my car, and we're gonna get real. Oh.
Hi everyone, Dan here, and I just wanted to put a little snippet about AstroWorld and what we do because I want to start getting the word out because I think it's becoming more and more of a giant community, and I want to get the word out to some other people. So what we do at AstroWorld is we hold astrophotography chats on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we just talk astrophotography. Wednesday's more of a techie kind of advanced intermediate, and Fridays is more of a newbie kind of thing. So if you want to check us out, and if you want to, hang out with some semi-decent people that like to go off the rails a little bit and have fun while they're doing it, come check us out at astroworldweb.com, and you can check out the schedule, and you can sign up for all the free giveaways that we do. We just gave away an Eagle 4 Pro, an Optilong filter kit, Charles Brackenstein's books, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So come to astroworldweb.com, hang out with us, have a good time, and as always, remember to keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Deborah, things are becoming intense. I ripped my jeans on your fence, hiding away from your man. Oh, it's a passion. Oh, tell a tale of 1,000 lonely days. Yeah, she's the real thing. Yeah, only I can make a change. I'm getting caught in the rain, standing here calling your name. Guess I got no one to blame. Yeah, it's a small town. Yeah, all the people turn and stare. Oh, it's a secret. Hey, let them see me. I don't care if you want to be together. It's so good to be together with you. If you want to be together. If you want to be together, it's so good to be together with you. If you want to be together, say if you want to be together. I'm feeling really guilty, but it feels so bad. Yeah, so good to be together. Yeah, we did it before, we can do it again. I'm tearing out my hair, 'cause I don't know when so good. You want to be together. Yeah. It's so good to be together. Yeah, so damn good. If you want to be together, it's so good, yeah.
What's wrong with my telescope now? Yeah, what's wrong with this thing?
The lost Lone Ranger, can I break this spell? I do one thing right, do I make you two things wrong? If I want to stand by the line, do I will always take the fall? If I don't do them, I can live from the right. I sleep all day long, then I'm breathing through the night.
All right. That was in 10 seconds. It was more like 5, but that's okay. What's the start of the? Oh, wait, what happened?
I didn't have enough time to finish chewing my pretzel.
There you go. We got you. Yeah, we got Pete. All right, cool. So yeah, so you can see we are at 3 tonight. Eric is coming. He's on his way, and he will be doing his talk. He's just running a little late. Should be here about 8:30. So we got Pete, Jess, and myself for the first half hour. So there you go. Dylan says hi. Thank you, Kevin, for the shout out. Yes, we made 1,600 subscribers. Thank you so much. We hit 2 milestones this week. We hit 1,600 subscribers on YouTube, and we broke 50 members in either YouTube or Patreon. So we have 52 members on both. So thank you so much for all the support and everything. You guys and girls are completely awesome. So thank you so much. That being said, you guys got to deal with my 7-minute spiel here. So so we'll just get that out of the way because we really need to. We got to express our thanks to everybody at the beginning so nobody leaves before hearing it. So here we go. So thank you to our sponsors. We have member sponsors. For those of you that are new to the show, great. Hey, what's up, Tommy? How you doing, Tommy? Welcome. So we got sponsors. We got people that give us stuff to give to you. So first one is Woodland Hills Camera and Telescopes. We give away gift certificates once a month, and we give out 2 biggies at the end of the year. So thank you to Woodland Hills Camera and Telescopes. Always a great resource. Pete is affiliated with Woodland Hills, and it's a really great organization. So thank you to Farah and the group over at Woodland Hills. At our Red Giant level, we got Prima Luce Lab Camera Concepts and Optolong. So we're starting the moist jokes already. No moist jokes tonight. No moisting. So we got Prima Luce Camera Concepts and Optolong, all of them. And if all things work out and the stars align in a certain area, we may have a decent Prima Luce giveaway at NEAF, and you must be there to win. So at our Super Giant level, we have Masters of Pixinsight and IP for AP. We're giving away a free Masters of Pixinsight workshop tonight. So hang out till the end of the show and see if you won the free Masters of Pixinsight workshop. The next one, I believe, is Masks Unmasked, and that's, I believe, is the Tuesday. That's, I think, the 17th or the 18th of March. So you got about a month away. But if you don't want to see the masks one, you get whatever one you want. So feel free to let Pete know when you win. And also IP for AP. Another great resource for processing for Photoshop and for Pixinsight. They have tutorials on both. So we give a 1-year subscription to IP for AP once a month. Thank you to all our member sponsors. Our 2 Off the Rails members, who are people who are completely crazy and donate a lot of money to us at $50 a month. Off the Rails members Sean Nielsen and Bob D'Amato. Thank you so much for them and their patronage. So thank you. Followed by our Quasar members, John G. and Dr. Hassan, 2 people that I know very well. So thank you so much. Charity George, Mike, and Dan. And I believe we just got a new Black Hole member. I think somebody just upgraded that I just saw, and I couldn't get it on the slide, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody upgraded. So thank you to them. And to our 2 Red Giant members, Bob and Deborah. Main sequence members, there's a ton now. So thank you to all of them. White Dwarf members. Why does that go so fast that one all the time? White Dwarf members. And our Protostar members. So if you're interested, join us on Patreon at AstroWorld TV. You get perks. You get little music videos made by me or whoever else. So it's a lot of fun. So join us on Patreon. If you missed it, last week we had Steve Malia from Starfield Optics with Sean Nielsen as well. Spoke a little bit about their new reflectors and some stuff that's coming up over at Starfield. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on our YouTube page. Unfortunately, we missed Richard Wright last Wednesday, and the internet didn't work out very well. So he's going to be coming and giving us a recap of Winter Star Party, hopefully within the next week or so. So that's going to be really cool to see what happened down there, because I heard they had some really nice weather. Bob Denny coming at us on next Wednesday, talking about Ascom Alpaca. He's going to be coming in and hang out with us. This is his second time on AstroWorld. Followed by Ivo Stoyanov the next Wednesday. Going to talk about APT. He's the creator of APT. So we're going to see. He hasn't been on since last March, and when he put out 2.0. So it's going to be fun to see what new improvements he's made with APT. And April 5th, we got Warren Keller coming up for his first solo appearance on AstroWorld TV, although he was on Astropalooza with all of them. So it's kind of odd, but he is the last one of the Masters of Pixinsight to come on. He will be here answering questions on April 5th. And, of course, feel free to join us on all of our other social media platforms, Discord, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, whatever. We're on everything. So that being said, we are all done with that, and we're going to go back to D3 up. And there we go.
Cool.
And
Hey, Dan,
it looks like we got a new member. So, Tommy, how you doing, Tommy? Welcome to White Dwarf. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That makes 53 members of AstroWorld. So thank you so much. Dennis, Mike, Gideon, welcome, everybody. Any news on Scott? Probably sleeping. The guy works like a crazy mother. I'm telling you, he's out of his mind. Eric is coming. He's running a little late. He's going to be doing his talk on mounts. He'll be here, so don't be afraid. Don't leave. Eric will be here probably about 8:30.
Hey, Dan, definitely mention the calendars.
Oh yeah, I still have calendars. I thank you. I still have some calendars. I got about 5 left before I put out the next order. So it's starting to slow down a little bit. But if you want calendars, I still have them. And what's that, Pete?
I was going to say, for the new members that have just signed in that don't know what we've done, maybe you could just give a little brief dialogue about that.
First, I gotta say, ew, I hate Dan K Solo. There you go. So that being said, yeah. So for the new members that are out there, and what we do every week, and tonight, if you haven't voted yet, you gotta vote for Picture of the Week. We got 80 votes already for Picture of the Week, and Bloodstone's not in it, so there's no Twitter malfunction. So just kidding, Dylan, just kidding. But we got 80 votes in, and we got some really, really, really good photos. So if you don't know, we do Picture of the Week every week, Picture of the Month every month, and every picture of the month is put into the calendar for the next year. We do it November to November. So really the December for 22 was the December for 23 picture, just so we could get the calendar out in time for the new year and all that kind of stuff, because it was kind of rough getting it out this year because it was the first time we did it. But it's usually about, with shipping, probably about $30 for the calendar. And it came out really, the calendar came out really good. I mean, I thought the pictures came out awesome for that. I never even heard of this company, but they did really, really good. Oh, no way. I didn't know that, Mark. Spike of Flat's gone.
Wow.
Looks like John's retiring.
You decided to pick it up then, huh?
I guess so. I don't know. He's gonna go hit golf balls with Don Goldman. But
maybe Steve Amalia should pick it up.
Oh man, I mean, I got my Spike of Flat right here. I'll hold on for 20 years and maybe sell it for $500.
I am no idea. Spike a Flat. That is also new to me. I learn something new every time I'm on with you guys. So,
well, there you go. So Spike a Flat. Spike a Flat is a maker of flat panels.
Oh, okay.
Really, really good, solid illumination flat panels. They're known as kind of like the standard for flat panels. They're really, really good. They're expensive. They're USB controlled. They're ASCOM controlled. But you can get them as big as you want them, as long as you call them. But apparently not anymore.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I feel like you guys have, and I feel like I've had this exact same question for you the last time you mentioned it. I was like, "What was that?" Okay.
Well, you know what? If the Spike of Flats are really good. I have one now. I got. Well, the Spike of Flats are really big. They're large. I mean, they could be small depending on what you got. Oh my God, my headset just got ran over by my wheel. Hold on a second. I can't move. Wow. Something's not right here. Hold on a second. It's this new chair.
Is that what it is?
It's a new chair, so I mean, like, I don't know where to put all my wires yet. I got to figure it out.
Oh, fair. Okay.
But I got these now.
Not
Okay.
cabling through the chair, Dan?
No chair. No, there's no through cabling on the chair. So yes, this was a birthday present from my lovely wife and my mother-in-law. So I love this is the best part about it. The pillow comes off. Nice.
Oh, that's kind of awesome.
And it's magnetic. So
That's even awesome.
it's not water cooled. No, it's not water cooled. But this is a flat panel that I've been using. I've been getting really good results with this. I just got, this is the motor for it here.
Okay.
So basically it attaches to the flat panel like this, and it moves up and down, and it doubles as dust cover.
Okay, that is cool. And I do feel like you have actually educated me on that at some point. And that is, and it's just as cool the second time as if I remember it being the first time.
I'm just gonna wrap this around
I still probably won't get one for a while, but maybe.
And yeah, the Giotto comes in as big as you want it. I mean, they will make as much as, if you want to pay for it, they'll make it. Trust me. So go to Prima Luce Labs, primalucelab.com or Prima Luce Lab USA, and you'll be able to get whatever you need along with the Alto. The motor's about, the motor and the panel are about $300 to $400 each. So the motor is about 300, and the flap. You don't need the motor. It does come with these little screws, these nylon screws, so you can kind of just like put them up against your dew shield, and it'll stay. And it's all USB powered and USB-C connector. So
Nice.
yeah, so pretty cool. Anyway, but we're here to talk about mounts.
I
right?
do take notes, but I lose my notes. I've been trying to do better reading the chat, and I'm like, I do take notes.
Hey, no, take notes, please, because I don't know what's going on. But it's pretty cool. So tonight we're going to be talking about different types of mounts, right? So Eric's going to be talking about, I'm sure he's got a wicked presentation, but since he's running a little late, we may as well just start off the conversation a little bit. Pete, you want to throw it on? You want to start a little bit, because I've been talking for like 20 minutes. So
well, as I said, I don't want to steal Eric's thunder, but
we just run around, the circle, what we use, and all that kind of stuff.
Basically, when we're looking at mounts, we're looking at alt-azimuth mounts, equatorial mounts, L mounts now with the plane wave, and then now the most recent mounts coming out look like the harmonic drive wave strain mounts. So those will be the different kinds of mounts. And, within each of those, they definitely have different types of mounts, basically having different types of features. Consequently, the more expensive the mount, the better the features you have, the better gearing, whether it be a worm gear, whether it be a direct drive mount. As I said, there's just a multitude of different mounts that are out there. So as I said, it's just a matter that when people talk and they give me a call and they say, Pete, I want to get a scope. And I'm thinking, well, what is it that you want to do? And they say, well, I want to do maybe 60% visual and say 40% astrophotography. I always tell them, if you're going to decide to get into astrophotography, forget about the scope. Put your focus in the mount, because that's going to be the most important piece of equipment. Because when we look at mount for astrophotography, the rule of thumb is you don't really want to push it past 80% of its payload capacity. With visual, yeah, you can run that up to about 99%, because once again, that's not going to be an issue. But when you start looking at putting in filter wheels, cameras, OHE, spacer adapters, and God knows what else you want to put in the optical train, you really want to look at maybe where you're going to be, not at this moment, but think about where you might be 3 to 5 years from now. Because we always kind of upgrade our scopes, right? We always think, okay, I might have a Radcat 61 right now, but 3 years down the road, I might have a WO 132. Or in the case like Dan, he's going to have an AP 130. So I always suggest is don't get the mount based upon your equipment that you have right now. Think about where you want to be 3 to 5, because it leads into that old adage, buy once, cry once. And that's the secret that you want to do, because you want to definitely plan for where you're going to be in the future. So I'm sure that Eric will probably talk a little bit about that. But it seems to me that all of us, the reason why we're on this show is that we're all basically astrophotographers. And so with that, I'm sure that we'll all either have probably equatorial drive mounts, we'll have harmonic drive mounts, or in the case of like with Mark, he'll have the L350, which will be the L mount. And the beauty about the L mounts is that you can actually, within one mount, do alt-as well as equatorial. It gives you both modes if you decide, so you can choose to do one or the other. So that's kind of an interesting little thing that we can start off to. And I'm sure this is going to be a segue getting into what Eric's presentation is going to be all about.
Hey, so Pete, let me, I don't know if Eric's going to, talk about this. He may or may not. But let me ask you a question regarding all these different types of mounts. We got worm gear driven, belt driven, harmonic, all this kind of stuff, single fork, dual fork, encoders, all this other stuff going on. But I'm more curious about the payload law. There's there's the unwritten law. You kind of alluded to it a little bit about the about the 80% kind of thing, or visual, go up to whatever. Does this rule change from, like, let's say a worm tooth mount to a belt mount to a harmonic mount? Can you get closer to that payload capacity with different types of mounts, or you need to go less with a different type of mount?
It's going to be interesting is that, definitely with the worm drive mounts, that's the rule of thumb is pushing it about 80% of what the maximum payload capacity is. Pretty much the same for belt, but when you come to harmonic drive mounts, this is a real technology that's going to be a game changer in this industry, because the technology is relatively new for what we do here. So, that's a good question, Dan, is that the beauty about the harmonic drive mounts is that, let's take a look at the Rainbow. Case in point, the Rainbow, the RST300 behind me. I mean, the payload, yeah, that's, the payload capacity on that, I wouldn't be surprised if you could probably push that up to 95%, if not maybe even a little bit more. That I don't know for a fact, because once again, we're saying is that once you exceed a certain point, that's when you're going to need to have a counterweight and a counterweight shaft. But think about the fact that with the ultimate in portability, and that's kind of what I think the majority of our viewer memberships are into. They're into, the ultimate in portability. How can you beat a harmonic drive mount that you can put on a Manfrotto or a Gitsu tripod, and literally have an AP130 on it? I mean, you can't beat that for the ultimate in portable setup. So you're absolutely right, Dan. I wish I knew the answer to that, but I'm going to say is that you might be able to push that past that at 80% capacity. But as I said, until these really kind of come into their own, they're going to be a game changer in terms of mounts. I really think so.
Right.
Okay, so now I've heard you guys talk these harmonic drive mounts and whatnot, and I just, as much as I would love to, be able to research every little bit of everything that I hear about it, like in my mind, I kind of catalog it as, I've got a mount, I like my mount, I kind of keep up on what's going on in the world, what I have is working for me, so I really haven't looked into it. What would be, like, if I were wanting to, tell us about the harmonic drive mount. Like, well, I think in a nutshell,
segue.
What exactly is that?
That's a great segue, because I know there was a question in the chat about, what is a mount. Now, I'm gonna simplify it real quick, and I'm gonna give you guys a visual on what this is. So, Jess, which mount do you have?
I had the EQR6, the Skywatcher.
And what's the payload capacity of your EQ6?
44 pounds.
44 pounds with counterweights, right? You gotta have probably two counterweights, 211 or
I have both of them. I have both of them on when I have my 127 on there. When I have my 70 millimeter on, I only need one. So.
Okay, so and how big is it? Is it big? Is it?
It's heavy. I mean, it's I mean, it weighs all the whole thing rigged up when everything's on it. It weighs not much. It weighs, not much less than me, so it's quite, I mean, to be honest, the thing is as big as I am. When I got my 127 on there, I mean, it's huge. The whole thing weighs about 76 pounds.
Okay,
so
so
I think
just
the mount, I think the mount and the tripod with the counterweights is like 76, something like that. But I mean, and that's without anything else on it. So.
Okay, so that being said, 44 pounds and the mount weighs 76 pounds.
It's a beast.
Okay. So what would you say if I told you that I could have the same weight capacity without counterweights in a mount this size?
Now, how do they do that? Tell me about this wizardry. I guess that's I've seen
one-handed.
This. I've seen it, and it's
44 pounds awesome. Without a counterweight. I think it's
now. How do they make that magic happen? What is going on inside there?
Okay, so actually, Pete, you probably are more well versed in the actual workings of the harmonics. I think.
Yeah, what is it about that? How are they?
I can probably explain it, but I'll screw it up a little bit. So you're the brain of
small and portable sounds beautiful. I mean, that part sounds amazing. And I guess, what I'm wondering is like, how do they do that?
Well, wave strain technology has been around for a long time. It's just been recently within our industry that it's really found a home. They use it quite a bit in machining processes. The unique thing about wave strain is that you've got basically a tooth gear, and then there's another reciprocating gear. And the difference between particular gear ratio and a worm gear is that if you ever look at a equatorial mount, how many teeth you actually have engaged, you might only have 12 to 15 teeth engaged within the gear itself. But with a harmonic drive mount, you're going to have 30% of the teeth mating to the reciprocating gear. So when you have that much or that many teeth engaged, you're going to have a much higher torque. And consequently, that's the beauty about what wave strain technology brings to our industry. Everybody's talking about the fact that, well, wait a minute, what's the periodic error? Who cares what the periodic error is? Because you can always guide that out with wave strain. That's the beauty about the technology. So literally now, instead of having a large, like a Mighty mount or an MX Plus mount, because of the wave strain technology now, you can have the technology now basically in a mount that weighs no more than 8 to 12 pounds, and you can hold it in the palm of your hand. So once again, that's the beauty is the torque ratio. You get a much greater torque ratio with wave strain technology. Case in point, Dan, look at the counterweight shaft, that bore. I mean, we're looking usually at about a 1/2-inch counterweight shaft on a Mighty mount. What's the bore size on that counterweight shaft? It's probably maybe 1/4 of an inch? Less than that, maybe.
Let me see.
I gotta find out what's up with this moist thing.
No, don't bring it up. Don't let them sucker you in. Don't let them sucker you in. It looks like 3 or 5/8.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot. I mean look at that. I mean it's a lot less. And so the idea is that once again you can use a telescope with a camera assembly up to a certain point before you actually have to have a counterweight shaft. So once again, for anything that's real portable, my God, how long would it take to set up? Case in point, for the Mighty mount, it takes me literally 20 minutes to half an hour to set up. With what Dan has, the Nook, Dan, you'll probably be up and running within less than that. You'll probably be up in 10 minutes.
Well, let me tell you.
That's the Pegasus one? That's the Pegasus?
This is the Pegasus one. This is a little bit beefier than the AM5.
Okay, because
the AM5 is about half the payload capacity of this. I wanted, just like Pete alluded to tonight, you want to have the mount that you could grow with, and this could go up to 56 pounds. And I'm weak. I'm holding this like it's nothing. I have no upper body strength at all, 0. And
I remember you guys had the AM5. I think one of you guys was testing it, wasn't? Weren't you?
Yeah, no, I tested
like
it
a year ago.
And this is the final piece of that video. So So I'm going to be I'm getting my tripod finally on Tuesday. So that's coming. And what the deal is that the reason why I went with the Pegasus as opposed to the AM5 and the HEM27 and all the other ones, that the Mark IIIs. But
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm just.
But the whole thing is that I wanted something that I could grow with, and this starts me at 44 pounds without a counterweight. And if I wanted to put something out, if I wanted to put a 9.25, you know what I missed about when I tested the AM5 for a month, and you know what I missed about that whole thing? I took the whole AM5 with the red cat on it and walked it outside and plopped it down, and I was set up in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Boom.
I've never been.
And it was great. I literally like do, and I literally, Jen's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm setting up a telescope." She's like, "That's it?"
That's so funny.
I'm like, "Yeah, that's it."
My AVX, if I have my like 70 millimeter on my AVX, I could kind of strong arm the whole thing if I had to, but it's like I got to go and then stop a little bit, then go and then stop a little bit, then go and then stop a little bit. But that's the best I got. I cannot do that with the Skywatcher. I think one time when I first set it up, I had my son help me because I was like, I am not going to deck this whole thing back up. I'm like, I got everything. It's all set up. Let's just carry this into the shed. And I got my son to come help me. But the two of us are just like, oh, it's not happening. No. So I think it was like a month after that, I got a Telegizmo. So.
Nice.
Yeah. The key that's really interesting with these harmonic drive mounts is that, you know, look at what your budget is and then look at the features, benefits of all these harmonic drives. And I think, Dan, you did the best thing is that you'd mentioned all the ones that are available, and you literally need to figure out, okay, what are the most features, benefits that I get for the bang for the dollar that I want to spend on it.
Yep.
And so you're absolutely right. Is that case in point now, like the Rainbow, the RST 135 now has encoders on the RA. They don't have it yet on the RST 300, but I'm sure that's going to happen here in the next 6 to 8 months. They'll have probably encoders on the RA and the deck. So for that portability aspect, how do you beat that? And I mean, you're right. I mean, it's amazing. And one of the features that I always will recommend is get one that has a brake. You definitely want one with a brake if you ever lose power, because man, that'll be a nightmare if you don't get a harmonic drive mount that doesn't have a brake.
Yeah. Yeah, you will all of a sudden, it won't happen tonight, it won't happen tomorrow, but when you least expect it, bam.
Yeah.
And then you're told about buy thrice, cry thrice. That's that's what you're gonna have. But hey, I have, this is gonna be my mount that's gonna be coming with me to Cherry Springs and all the other places. This is the mount that's coming with me. You know what I mean? I don't have to carry my EQ8R around or my EQ6R around and, set these things. I mean, it's a lot. The EQ6R might come with me to Valentine when I go to Nebraska this year for the Nebraska Star Party. It might come with me because I might want 2 setups like I did at Cherry Springs this year.
When's the Nebraska one?
Middle of July.
Interesting.
Okay. My wife has family out there, and so I've never met them. We've been Zooming since COVID, and I met them on Zoom, and we actually like each other, so we're actually gonna kind of go and hang out. So.
I asked because my mom and I are going somewhere this summer, and we had thought about going to Utah, and I don't think that's gonna happen because we are gonna be traveling with 4 Chihuahuas in an RV.
Oh no.
No, just the face. So,
poor
but
ankle
anyway,
biter.
yes, she loves her babies. They don't love me. They might love me, seasoned well, but anyway, like so instead of going to Utah, I was like, how about we go somewhere a little bit closer? She's like, well, where would you want to go? Because I can already see it. I can already see my mom not wanting to leave the dogs and like us go somewhere and her just like, I'll stay with RV, you go and have fun. So of course, in my mind, I'm like, well, then let's just go somewhere where it's dark sky. So I open up the dark sky map, and the closest real big area of dark sky is South Dakota and Nebraska. So that's why I asked.
Nice.
So I don't know. I like South Dakota. It's pretty.
I've never been there, so I'm not 100%.
The Badlands are absolutely amazing. There's nothing. There's like nothing else.
So I'm thinking that, let's see. So this has I don't think you're going to want to do this, but this has a latitude adjustment all the way up to 90 degrees on there. So I'd have to look at it to make sure. I'm looking at it to see if there's the limit, but I think you could do it in, let's see, software development, product manual.
And Dan, maybe with the Pegasus, you can talk about the features, benefits, and then I'll pull out that RST 300 behind me, talk about that. And you can definitely see, once again, there's a lot of different features that you get, with the price. Basically, everybody was waiting for the Nook to come out. It's really got some great features, benefits.
Yeah, the Nix. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is that it's 20 kilograms, no counterweights. So that's 43 or 44 pounds US.
Yep.
And holy cow. I mean, I could put anything I want on that thing and not have to carry a counterweight along.
I mean, that's kind of awesome.
Pretty cool to me. I mean, I'll take that in a second. It's super lightweight. You could use it if you just wanted to kind of use it in alt azimuth. You could use it in alt azimuth, just like the AM5 as well. AM5 does that as well.
And how are they? Are they pretty price comparable?
No.
Okay.
No. The Nix is about $1,000 more.
Okay. And the AM5 was what, around 1,500?
1999.
1999. Okay.
I think it's 23 or 2240 with the tripod.
Okay.
So the same thing with this. This is 2960, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember the price off the top of my head. 2960 retail for the Pegasus, just the mount head, and the tripod is, I think, 350 for the. But it's a carbon fiber tripod, so it weighs nothing. So nothing and nothing is still nothing.
So Dan, what's the length on the saddle there? The only thing I would change on this is I would get a longer saddle.
So the thing that's, and I haven't taken this apart yet. So this doesn't suffer from the mistake that the HEM27 did.
Yeah.
Where they looped the cables all through here, and there's a USB hub in here, or in the back to be more correct. It's in the back.
Yeah.
Here, and I'm curious to do it, but there's only the 4 hex screws here. So I'm wondering if I could take this off and put an ADM saddle plate on it. And then do exactly what you said. And the thing that's good about this, just like the AM5, it does both. It does Vixen and Los Mondes. So VND, the HEM27 does do VND, but you literally got to take, in order to switch back and forth, you got to take the whole saddle apart to kind of, I have it on my video and you'll see it. But this is pretty good. For the 127, I certainly hope this works for the 127 because I bought it for the 130. So I'm hoping that it does. The only thing that you're going to need, and you're going to have to be careful with it, and it's different for every setup. It's different for every setup because your flattener you may need extensions. You may, depending on the scope that you have. The 127 I know requires from Explore Scientific those M54 extension tubes. Sometimes you need 2 depending on the flattener that you have. That being said, you are definitely, and I got them coming, you're definitely going to want the pier extension that goes on here to raise the mount head higher so you have the swing through on those longer scopes.
Mhm.
Those longer scopes will smash into your tripod legs if you're not high enough.
Mhm.
Okay, so be careful. Get the pure extension. If you have a 127, get the pure extension without a doubt. If you have the 102, depending on which one you have, or a 100 or a 91, try it, look it, swing it around, manually, not with the hand controller, hand panel. You can't, there's no clutches on this, so you can't kind of move it around and stuff like that. You have to kind of, it's all electronically kind of stuck.
So show us the inputs on the back there, Dan.
So there is basically, it's got the regular. So I'm curious to see. It's got the 2-pin Skywatcher EQ 6 and 8 kind of connector here. Way back when the EQ 8 was a lot bigger than this, and they changed it with the newer models to make them both the same. Because I correct me if I'm wrong, Pete. I think one of the original EQ 8s was 18 volt instead of 12.
18, yeah.
Yeah, so they changed the newer 8s, and I have the newer 8, which has the same power plug as EQ 6. Because
so just out of curiosity, then, could this mount be powered by a Pegasus? What's the requirement for amperage? Because in other words,
powered by a power box.
Yeah, not a power box, but the Eagle. Excuse me, the Eagle. So in other words, could I actually power this mount with the Eagle, because the requirement for the amperage isn't going to be that great?
No, I think it's 3 amp if I remember right.
Oh my God, that's fantastic!
And that's at slew. So, I'll just look real quick.
I mean, that's another feature benefit right there in itself.
Optional accessory.
Yeah, because on the Eagle,
I saw that they have these, like, and I can share my. Let's see.
Yeah, because the Eagle's got 2 outputs for 3 amps and then 2 other additional outputs for 8 amps. So if you could use one of those outputs to power up this little Nix, that would be phenomenal.
Well, here's the great thing about the Eagle 4 and hopefully soon the Eagle 5. You could actually take amperage from the 8 amp, one of your 8 amp kind of nodules that you have, and you could make that 8 a 7 or a 6 amp and take those 2 freed up amps and make one 3 amp a 5 amp.
So what do you need, like a splitter cable?
No, it's in software.
It's in software then. Interesting.
It's in software. You minus one, you add to the other.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool. So if you do require a 4 amp, if you're slewing at 4 amps and it just, it craps out and you need 5, you could take one away from one and add it to another. Just as long as you don't, it won't let you, but as long as you don't exceed the max amp draw of the board, it will shut down if you do.
Yeah. Interesting.
No through mount cabling, although there is a nice little space in here where you can kind of go through. I don't know if I would do that, though, to be honest with you, to feed cables through here. Not sure if I would do that.
So Dan, the second layer of ports there, is it like a guider port, a PC port? And
so you got your regular printer cable USB-A PC port here. You have a right here your regular RJ, what is it, 12 ST4 kind of port. It says external. I can't imagine using that for much of anything, to be honest with you. And then you got power in and a power out, so you can power things through here. So
interesting. See, that's a great feature and benefit. It's amazing for a first generation harmonic drive mount. They did a very good job on that.
Unbelievable. But this is the first one out the gate.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping that it performs the way I'm touting this thing, because if this thing sucks, I'll sell it back to Jeff, I swear, because I don't expect that, to be honest with you. I've been hearing a lot of good things on cloudy nights, so I'm expecting it to run really well. So
and so when we start talking, that's the harmonic drive mounts, and then people talk about, well, what about fork mounts? And I was going to say fork mounts do have great potential, but it really depends upon the scope that you've got. If you've got your camera assembly on the back of your scope, when that target is close to zenith, you're going to bottom out on the fork mount. But with plane wave, it's really interesting is what they've done is on their fork mounts where they have the connectors on the side. What you do is you reach inside the truss tube and then you just turn the truss tube and there's the mirror. And what will happen is the mirror now will actually reflect out through the side. So now you don't put your camera in the back of the, say, CDK scope. You put your camera on the side of the mount that's connected on the pivot points. You can use both pivot points now for your camera assemblies. So they've done a great job on that to be able to overcome that idea of fork mounts when your target is close to zenith. Because that's always been a big issue with the Meads and the Celestrons, with the fork mounts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I got a lot of people. You know, a lot of people get the fork mounts. I got a friend that's I'm working with right now. Was it the not LX200? Was it the LX600 20-inch? The 20-inch.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a mess. This thing is a mess. I mean, it's just it's such a shame that this thing is just so bad. The collimating rods don't work. The hand control is busted. I mean, you know, so you can't. So those of you that don't know the LX600, you actually have to column. It's a Schmidt pretty much, and it's a big Schmidt. It's an RCX, so it's huge. But you collimate it through the hand controller, and the guy's wondering why I can't get in focus and you can't collimate. So I mean, you know, so I'm like, it's been sitting in a dome for years, and you can't do anything with it. And it's just so I got to do. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm still playing with it. It's out in Montauk. So
that's funny. But yeah, as I said, you know, when it comes to mounts, there's so many new companies that are coming out with these mounts, and so it really depends upon: do you want a remote observatory? Do you want a fork mount? Do you want a harmonic drive mount? I mean, once again, it's just a matter of just deciding what you want to do and where you want to actually put it. And but it really is truly the golden age of what we do here. I mean, when we start looking at especially mounts, because you know, for astrophotography, mounts are the most important component part that you want to get. And for that matter, you know, we literally can, well, you know what, we'll wait until Eric talks, and I'm sure Eric will be talking about tracking and tracking rates, so we won't definitely get down that road yet.
No, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him pop on yet, so I hope he's okay. Yeah. And that's fine. We can keep on going, but there's a couple other things, like, you know, we sit there and we talk, and you know, a lot of us do here. We do astrophotography, right? And
hey guys.
Oh, we were just talking about you.
There he is.
Down.
Let me get you up here.
Sorry, so sorry.
No, all good, all good. All good. Let's see.
Not crazy.
Let's see what we got here.
Hey everybody.
How you doing?
Good.
There he is.
There you go.
Wow.
You all right, bro?
It is cold.
Hey, hold it. Look, what is different? What is different? The Christmas tree is covered up.
That's
is.
Why Eric is late. He took the Christmas tree down. Or he's hiding. One or the other. Is it down
funny.
or is it just hiding behind the green screen?
It's just behind me.
Okay.
Oh,
When's your son coming home?
It looks like in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Nice.
2 weeks.
I want my $2.
I want my $2. Oh my goodness,
well,
man!
We actually started the conversation a little bit, Eric.
Yeah,
we didn't want to steal a lot of your thunder.
No, appreciate that.
You know, but we spoke a little bit about the mix that I have and the little difference between, like the EQ6R and the Nix mount, what's the benefits of one and the other. But
we
you're
can
more than welcome
definitely hop into
to
this.
take the show on and do your thing.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, apologies for my tardiness.
There's no apologies, man.
It's all good. We are getting there. So yeah, let's bring this up here and let me get to here. And let me go. Want to make sure I'm sharing everything. My screen sharing entire window. Chrome tab. No, entire screen. Okay.
Oh, look at it. Oh, he went all out. Oh, hold on.
Oh, wow.
He actually put some time into this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I put a little bit of time in this one, guys. I put a little bit of time into this one. So, hearing what you guys were talking, I just heard like the first, the last couple minutes of the conversation that you guys were having. So, yeah, we're gonna have a bit of a chat on what I consider the core of a great astro image, and this is good. This is AP 101, guys. This is astrophotography 101, and this is all about the mount. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And if you guys have any questions come through the chat, guys, let me know. Okay?
Yeah, you know what I'll do? And you're seeing the live, right?
No, I can only see my screen right now. I can only see my
that's the live, but tell me if you see this.
No, I don't see anything. I just see my presentation.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's just coming on mine. Okay, so
yeah.
I'll tell you if there's any questions coming across.
All right, cool. All right, so let's jump into this. And the biggest question is, when you get into this, and the reason you get into this, so you want a great astro image, and you love the night sky, you love everything as far as taking these great photos or seeing these great photos of these deep sky objects and beautiful stars, like in astronomy and Sky Telescope magazine, on Facebook, Instagram, you go to the APOD website, all of this stuff. And if you're new to this, you say, yeah, I want to take the dive. I want to take the plunge. So I understand, because this was me, and I know a lot of people like me and my, getting started. You're anxious, you're excited, but I wish somebody would have told me a few things. And so I'm gonna share what my thoughts are on here. Before you go out and you spend that hard-earned money of yours on the telescope and the camera and everything else, an ASI Air, a dew heater, filter wheel, filters, you name it, there's one very important question you have to ask yourself above anything else. What mount is my stuff going to sit on? What mount is my telescope going to sit on? Because the mount is the alpha and omega. It is the beginning of the end and the end of a great astro image. So it has to be, in my opinion, and it should be your first and most invested piece of equipment, right? So we're going to talk about, one of the most common mounts that we use in astrophotography, which is the GEM, the German equatorial mount, or that style, or that equatorial mount. So we're going to talk a little bit about the principles, the different types. We're going to talk a little bit about vocabulary, everything, hopefully as much as possible. So if you're new to this, or even if you aren't new and you're just, you want a little refresher, you can come away with a little bit of knowledge, so you can make a choice on what is going to be that core to your astrophotography rig. Okay. So first and foremost, you have the equatorial mount. And the question is, if you don't know, you really want to know, what does it do? What does it do for me? Why do I need to get an equatorial mount? Right? So the purpose of an equatorial mount, or we're going to call it EQ, is to track the objects that you want to photograph, those stars or deep sky objects. You want to track them and keep them centered throughout the night with a high degree of accuracy. Now, this is achieved by the mount moving at the opposite rate that the actual Earth moves. Okay, it spins. You know how the Earth spins. Your mount actually moving the opposite way, or slewing the opposite way, and based on how well you perform the proper balance, the proper alignment of that mount, these are going to be key points and key things you're going to need to make sure of to get that high degree of accuracy for tracking. Okay, because that was one of the big key things is tracking. And when you're tracking DSOs, you're tracking in the sidereal. Okay, so you want not only to keep this object that you're photographing centered, as it rotates, you want to keep it centered for as long as you possibly can and do it well. Okay, you want to keep it rotating along that natural arc that the sky moves and that object moves over several hours, over many hours. So with proper alignment and proper balance, the main thing is that you can take ultra long exposures of the night sky, and that way you can be able to start exposing those details of those really faint nebulae and the galaxies and everything you want to look at in space. Okay. So as we see here, I don't know, you have this mount here with this old school EQ mount, and you have the North Celestial Pole, and you can see here a little bit of, all right, I'm facing north here, I've got south here, east, and west here. Now if you're not sure, but I'm gonna talk to you guys like as if you don't know. When stars rise, just like the sun, they rise in the east, okay? And they go across the southern sky. In our hemisphere, they go across the southern part of the sky, and they set in the west. That is how it works for us here in the northern hemisphere. Everything rises in the east and sets in the west. And we line up with our North Celestial Pole. All right, so we're going to hop into that here really quick. So how does it operate? Sorry, I got to go back here. Sorry, now, darn it, that was not what I wanted to do. Here, let me give a sec here, because this is all up in my way. This is poor. I thought I had this all set. All right, let's get back in.
Filter presentation.
Yeah. So, how does it operate? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the celestial sphere coordinates: equatorial, right ascension, and declination. Now, every celestial object, stars, DSOs, comets, whatever is in that celestial sphere, in the night sky, it has two numbers that make up its quote unquote address. Okay, looks like we have our home address. It makes up its address, and those are what we call the celestial coordinates. And these are defined by the projection of the Earth's projection. The projection of the Earth's pole and the equator onto the celestial sphere, right? So you have your celestial poles, your North Pole, okay, and your South Pole, right? Your celestial South Pole, and this is how and off of the pole is how the Earth rotates. It rotates on its axis, and then you have the celestial equator, right, which is right here. It's right here. Okay. Now, there are a couple terms that we need to know about. You have declination, okay, which is the angular distance from the equator, either north or south, and it's marked as either positive, and a positive number when you're in the northern hemisphere, and when you're south of the equator, it's negative. Okay, and the right ascension is that angular distance along circles parallel, okay, to the equator. So the 0 point, because I was kind of curious about this, where's the 0 point of right ascension. And sometimes you have to think of this when you look at this right ascension, like kind of it's like a celestial clock, right? So 0, all right, the 0 point is at the vernal equinox. So every spring, right, when at the start of spring, when the sun rises, that point, right, that is 0 hour. Okay. And that is, where the sun's position in the sky crosses the celestial equator as it moves north. And right ascension actually goes eastward. So if we were looking at this, or if you were thinking about this on a map, or like a map, right ascension and declination are to the celestial sphere what longitude and latitude are to a map in Earth's coordinates. Okay. So that's how it operates. It operates based off of how it is positioned, based off of the Earth's rotation and the Earth's and the equatorial right ascension and declination. So the actual mount, it moves. It has 2 axes, right? Actually, it has 3, but it moves both the declination and the right ascension axes. And you have your right ascension axis, which is here, which is going up and down, from east to west. And then you have your declination movement, which is kind of going from east to west or west to east, however you want to call that. So so your mount has to be balanced properly on both the declination and the right ascension axes in order to help with auto guiding. That's when you're auto guiding and you're taking these long exposures, you want to have everything well balanced as well as aligned, and we're going to talk about here also, to auto guide well. All right, because you also have the polar axis here, which your polar axis is in line with the celestial pole, right? So, and in many cases, in all cases, it should be, you will have, when you purchase an equatorial mount, you will have the polar axis, and it's set in degrees, which is based off of your latitude. And you can actually roughly start polar aligning your mount once you first start setting it up, based off of your say your GPS coordinates or your latitude and longitude. So you have, like, say me here, in Illinois, where I'm at 44 degrees north. So when I first set up my mount, I initially got the mount set up and initially got it pointing roughly north, and then I set my polar axis up towards at 44 degrees just to get started before I really got into the polar alignment.
Eric?
So you align.
Eric,
so alignment.
You got a question real quick? About being level with the mount.
Oh yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
But real quick, that is going to be one of the notes we really want to talk about. You want to make sure that you are setting up your mount, okay, on as much of a, I would say, solid or firm surface as possible. I don't necessarily mean, it has to be totally flat or anything like that. It should be relatively flat, relatively level. But you also want to be able to, when you put those legs down on that tripod, and say, when I first got started, I had it in the backyard, and you put it in the grass. But what happens if it rains? That your mount, and you leave your mount outside, what happens? Your mount will begin to sink. Those legs begin to sink into that mud or into that grass. You don't want that. You want to get, like, say, patio pavers, nice concrete pavers, anything like, and put that on and make them and put them out and put them on the grass, and make it as level as you possibly can for each of those, and then put the legs of your mount on that. You want to keep it on a solid surface as much as possible. Okay. So so getting back to here and how it operates, the mount operates, one of the key things is alignment to the celestial pole. We always talk about polar alignment, right? Even if you like with my ASI Air, or nowadays with plate solving, anything else, that's all great. But no matter what, because you don't necessarily have to do the 3-star alignment or anything like that, like we used to do. But the key thing is with plate solving. But the key thing is, above all of that, is polar alignment. You must be aligned to the celestial pole. That is key. So with the modern go-to mounts, in this technology, these equatorial mounts, they have the ability, as long as you are aligned up and you are in proper balance, they have the ability to be as accurate, to be very, very accurate when they're slew to thousands of objects in the night sky. Because we all know that nowadays these mounts, they are pretty smart, especially with these computerized mounts. That have different types of systems in them. They have GPS, encoder, Wi-Fi, USB. It has all these really cool things. But beyond all of that, the very basic stuff is you have to be polar aligned and you should be properly balanced. Those are the most basic things you need. Okay, when it comes to that mount, making sure those things are done when you're first setting up that mount. So we got different choices of equatorial mounts, and like I was saying, this is a huge investment. It's probably your most significant investment, when you're getting an astrophotography, and when you're trying to decide on that mount, that first mount, or even your second mount or third mount or whatever. There are certain things you want to consider, and none of these things should necessarily be taken lightly. So we're going to talk a little bit about payload capacity and saddles, right? So now payload capacity, that is defined as the maximum weight that a mount can carry. That means your telescope, your camera, all the accessories, everything, and still perform as expected. Now, with astrophotography, for the best performance, or to do, to have your mount perform as best as it can, there is this unwritten rule of thumb, but it's basically a rule of thumb not to exceed half the maximum payload of the mount. And this is really true when we talk about your intro, your budget friendly, just getting started mounts. That may be lower cost in that thing. You want to make sure that you are purchasing the right mount, and that mount is going to, one, be able to carry what you want it to carry. But remember, if you're taking images, you gotta take that maximum mount number and slice it in half, and that is going to be your payload capacity for the equipment you are putting onto that mount.
So Eric, I got a couple of people pushing back on that payload percentage, but now something.
Okay.
I was just wondering if through your research on here, and I don't know if you get into this a little bit later on, but it's something that was brought up before you came on. Does that rule of thumb change when you're dealing with mounts of different types? For example,
yes.
Harmonic versus worm gear.
Yeah. Yes. I believe it does. And this is this definition, especially nowadays, this is circumspect to especially today's mounts. But because you do have these different types of mounts now that, you can load them up. You can load them up to their max payload. and you can perform just fine. This is why I also said down here, this is especially true for those lower cost mounts, right?
Yep.
Because a lot of those lower cost mounts, for example, my AVX, my Celestron Advanced VX mount, it is a worm gear mount. That type of this particular type of mount, you wouldn't necessarily want to exceed the max, that 50% of the max payload.
Yeah, I mean, and also I got a couple people talking about this in the chat about the EQ6R, and I got to agree with them. I overloaded my EQ6R. I mean, it's 44-pound weight capacity, and my EQ6R loves to work hard. It does.
Yeah.
And that could be because it is belt driven as opposed to the AVX being worm gear driven. But I put about 37 pounds on that thing, and my guiding was outstanding on a 44. So it really, and I'm not trying to take away from your 50% kind of thing, because I think you're right with the lower end. I don't want to say lower end, but with less price, to me, becomes less accurate. And that I would have to agree with you, where the percentage of payload gets smaller the less you pay for the mount. So you get an Avalon, you could go all the way up to 105% and have no backlash, whereas you spend $800 on an AVX and you may only be able to put 17 pounds on it on a 30-pound capacity mount. So I mean, that's just something to think about. I just wanted to let everybody kind of
and that's absolutely right. A lot of this, and everybody's bringing up some really great points. A lot of maybe some of this information that I am sharing is going to be almost moot or not applicable very soon. If not, we get to that point that some of these mounts, even these smaller mounts, harmonic drive and everything, they are workhorses and they are solid. But if we're talking the truer, these really low cost mounts, let me again, like you have the older Orion mounts, and like I said, my AVX, or maybe like the HEQ5, things like mounts such as those. Or along those lines, in these budget numbers, these are things you may want to just be aware of and may consider. It's not always necessarily true, but this has been the rule of thumb, and this is actually, you're right, guys. This is actually maybe going a little bit away. So let's move on. But we can, but definitely consider the payload capacity. You don't truly max it out. That's the main thing. Don't max it out. Know how much once you get an idea of the type of scopes and equipment you want to buy, when you purchase that mount first, before you get everything else, make sure, and as well as, maybe because you want to future-proof yourself too, because like I said, this is a key investment here. You may start adding on purchasing other equipment in the future, in the near future, maybe new scopes, new cameras, and other equipment. You want to make sure that you are getting the right mount and that has the right payload capacity, not just for what you're using right at that very moment, but maybe what you could be using maybe a few years down the road. Okay.
Yep.
So now the saddle is where the telescope dovetail connects, okay, where the telescope actually rests and sits on top of the mount. So when you're also selecting a mount, there may be the question of what kind of scopes you may need to consider, you might have to consider, when, sitting on that mount. All right. Now you have some of these lightweight telescopes, they have saddles. The telescopes have these smaller Vixen style dovetails, and they're commonly found on beginner telescopes and beginner equipment. You would see them on those. But you also have the D style, the Los Mandi, which are much wider, and they are more known to be on larger and heavier telescopes. Now, some mounts you can also upgrade after, maybe after initial purchase or what have you. You can actually upgrade your mount saddle to the Losmandi Vixen style, or the DV style, which would give you a lot more, which would give you that flexibility that you're looking for. And this, again, like we're talking about, maybe future proofing or anything like that. So you have that flexibility of being able to not only, have Vixen dovetailed telescopes sitting on that mount, but you also have Losmandi. And just remember, if you want to stay within that payload capacity, that recommended payload capacity of the mount, no matter what. So here are a couple of different styles or examples of saddles, and just to point these out really quick. So you have, like I said, you have the V style, the Vixen, which are much smaller and thinner. And this what looks like what a Vixen style saddle would look like. You have your Losmandi or D style dovetail, which you can see here is much wider. Same thing with the saddle here, because these are able to carry much heavier telescopes, and much, so that's your Losmandi. And this is what the DV style looks like. You see, if you look here a little bit, it's a combination. So you can carry both Vixen style and you can carry Losmandi style. And personally, I would recommend, if you're starting to look at your first mount, I would recommend looking for mounts that have that Losmandi, that dual Losmandi Vixen DV style saddle. Because I personally believe this is the way things should be, period, across, no matter what budget telescope it is. This is making sure that you can carry not, that small refractor, but maybe that slightly larger reflector type of telescope. Now here we go. Now this is when we're talking a little bit about, worm drives, the drive methods. And equatorial mounts, they use different types of drives or different types of methods to track, to slew and move and track your objects in the night sky. Now they all, they have their pros and cons, each one of them do. But the first one that we're going to talk about is the worm drive. And the worm drive, it is this type of gear arrangement where you have the worm here, kind of looks, like a screw, and that meshes with that worm wheel. And the worm drives are probably the most common and most used type, until, now we've got newer things coming out. But even within the past, say 2-3 years ago, maybe even a little bit earlier, these were the most common type of drive that you would find in a telescope mount. And they were found in not only, your budget-friendly mounts, but even in your high-end tracking mounts. So both types. So no matter so many times the budget, you still ended up, having, a worm drive that would track that would be inside your mount for tracking. Now, one of the main elements and issues that, just because of how it's designed, having, with these types of gears, you're going to have what they call backlash. And that is basically when backlash, you have a little bit of play in between, the teeth of those interlocking gears here. So you have a little bit of play there. Now, what can happen is with backlash, those gears can kind of slip a little bit when the motors are engaged. So when it's tracking, if you ever notice, like if you're tracking and you've taken a picture or you've taken an exposure, or even in your auto guiding, you'll get these little jumps, these little blips in your mount. And that little blip can cause those stars to appear to have a little bit of a star trail, especially if you're doing long exposures. So, and that is the backlash of those worm gears. So now it can be reduced. One, it can be reduced, at least from what I understand and what I've been taught, back in the day, is to balance your mount slightly heavier on the east, towards the east side of your mount. Okay. You be a little east heavy, what they call it. Especially when we talk about on the right ascension, and on the declination, you are a little camera heavy. Okay, so you're slightly camera heavy. So that can help deal with backlash. You're never going to get rid of it. It's just the nature of the beast. If you have a worm gear, a worm drive type of mount that runs on worm gears, you just have to accept backlash is going to be a part of that mount. There's no way around it.
Eric,
But
can I add one here before you go on?
Yeah.
Earlier, we were talking about the interface of the gear to the worm. Look at the percentage of teeth that's engaged from the worm to the gear itself. Look how much, you don't get a lot of torque here. That's the difference when we were talking earlier about harmonic drive, is that you're going to get 30% torque because you can have 30% of the teeth engaged with harmonic drives. But that's always been the one weakness here with the worm and the gear, is look at the small percentage of the teeth that are engaged compared to the overall number of teeth.
Yes.
Eric, I gotta say, I'm loving the visualization here. As Pete was trying to explain it to me, I'm surprised I didn't have smoke coming out of my ears just trying to get in my head what he was saying. I'm a visual person. This helps.
Good. So as you can see here, I've got two different examples of mounts here, and this is the Celestron AVX. This is a budget-friendly mount, and it has worm gears. Now, also here, this is the Ioptron CEM 120, a much heavier payload, a much more what we call observatory grade mount. But it's much more expensive than the AVX. It's usually about maybe 4 times as expensive as the AVX. However, even though it's that expensive, it also has worm gears within its declination and RA axes. So some manufacturers, they design the worms to have the worms to be spring loaded into mesh, to help minimize backlash. And that's one of the things I know that the CEM 120 has, to help minimize that backlash. But just keep this in mind, that this is the way, using worm gears has been the way for decades when it came to designing and building mounts. So if you have that, just be aware, backlash is one thing that you're gonna always have to end up dealing with until you get a new mount. Now, there's also the drive method of the belt drive. The belt drives are also used, and these are also used in from entry level up to high-end type mounts. Some of these drives, you can even have a combination of both belt and worm gear. Okay, and if you're using exclusively belt drives, you usually don't have backlash. I would say there's zero backlash. Unlike, worm drives, another thing is with a belt, you don't have to worry about lubrication versus a worm drive. So it's like, say, hypertuning and stuff like that, where you would have to replace, the lubricant and go to super lube and all of that stuff. And, to improve to help with your mount in that worm gear. Worm drives, you don't have to worry about, not worm drives, but belt drives, you don't have to worry about lubrication, but they do use timing belts and timing belts do wear, but you have timing belts and you have pulleys, and those are what moves them out. But one cool thing is that they are actually quieter than worm gear. When you hear a worm gear slew and a total belt driven slew, you can definitely tell the difference. So now here we see, this is the CGX mount, which is Celestron's top end mount. And you can see here that it actually has a combination. It has worm gear as well as belt. So that's not uncommon, especially as you start moving up in certain types of brands of mounts and price points, that you would see combinations such as this. Okay. Now, while with a belt drive, backlash can be, lowered or eliminated. One thing I believe, if you use, even with the gear drives, you will, even with gear drives, you will suffer from periodic error. And periodic error is the measurement of the irregularities in those gears. Okay. So the mounts, they use gear systems that make a complete rotation. All right. And you're measuring that periodic error. For example, my CEM60, in order for it does a complete rotation. It does it within 300 seconds it takes to do that complete rotation. And during that time, if you're doing what we call periodic error, you can actually begin to train the mount to learn where those imperfections are. And because this can actually help, dealing with that periodic error and correcting things and improving that performance of your mount, if you take advantage of PEC, or that periodic error. Now, these are a few examples of belt-driven or combination belt-driven and worm-driven style. Like I said, you have the CGX here, but we talked, you mentioned a little earlier, Dan, the Avalon. The Avalon is all drive. It is all belt. So, and it is zero backlash. And you pay for it. It's not a cheap mount. It's a great mount. But it's a very good performing mount. So this is the Avalon M0. And then you also have the MX Plus from Software Bisque. And Pete, I believe you have a Software Bisque, right? You have the Mighty.
The Mighty.
Or do you have the MX? Yeah. And that's belt. If I'm not mistaken, correct? That's a belt-driven mount as well. It's not worm-driven. It has belts.
It's belt-driven, yeah.
Yep. So you don't have to worry about backlash.
No.
So next, we are going to hop over to the latest and greatest, the harmonic drives, these strain wave drives. This is the latest in harmonic, in mount technology. So they also use a gear system. We have a flex spline, a circular spline, and a wave generator. But what's really incredible about these harmonic drives, they have much better gears, much better quality, and they allow you to carry more payload, many times more payload than even the mount itself, how the mount, the mount's actual weight, right? You don't need counterweights usually, and which makes them really, really great as far as portability. They have zero backlash. Back in the day when you were first starting to introduce harmonic drives, you had such mounts such as the Rainbow and the Hobum, which were really considered, really out of reach as far as budget friendly. But innovation, has really driven down that cost, and for manufacturers to actually get into this game of harmonic and strain wave drive mounts. So you have like the AM5 here from ZWO, you have the Pegasus Astro Nix going, and you even have Ioptron with its HEM, I think the 44 and the 25. They're actually getting into the game now, like Rainbow and Hobum did, and they're getting into that market space, and people are scooping up, especially the AM5s, and they're really getting into the Nix and stuff like that because they are really budget friendly. So, a couple things. We're gonna wrapping this up. There's a few things that I would say. Some things that I would note out, or some key points. Placement. When you decide to when you have your mount, prep the surface. Have it as solid and firm of a surface as you possibly can. It's very important because you are going to be polar aligning, and if you're on a wet, soggy surface, unbalanced, and poor surface, it's you're gonna have issues. It's gonna sink. It's gonna do all these bad the bad things. It's gonna get out of polar alignment constantly. You will not have a very good experience. So remember to just make it. When you decide on your mount and you decide to purchase your mount, also decide on where you're going to set it up. Okay, so that's very important. Polar alignment. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore doing it, because this is probably one of the key things you really have to do, regardless of plate solving and everything else. You have to polar align your mount, and you're gonna have probably polar alignment quite often until you get a pier or anything like that. So it's very important. It's key for tracking. It's key. It's very important for tracking. It's very important for auto guiding. Doing those long exposures. And nowadays, I would say within the past 3, maybe 5 years, actually, I remember when I first got started, I would break my back trying to polar align with a polar scope. Huh. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But technology has Polemaster, Celestron has their all-star polar alignment. You've got SharpCap Pro. You've got the ASI Air. You've got Nina. You've got so many pieces, so many tools now that are out to do polar alignment, because everyone, when you're in astrophotography, so many people know how important polar alignment is. So definitely do not ignore it, or else, you're gonna have problems, especially at doing long exposures. Balance, especially with worm, talking worm drive mounts, balance is key. All right. When you're talking worm drive mounts, be a little slight east heavy, on the RA, be a little heavy on the camera side when you're talking declination to engage your gears. When it comes to the newer mounts, the balance, you don't really necessarily need to worry about that, especially when we talk about the strain wave or the harmonic drives. You still have to balance, but it's not as emphasized. It's not as strongly emphasized as you would be if you were using a worm drive mount. I did talk about payload for astrophotography. 50% of the max weight capacity to be allowed by the mount. But to everybody's point, it's a very true point. These newer mounts, and even my center balanced CEM 60, you can really push that weight. But this is really, if you're getting started and you're looking at a budget friendly mount, this is one thing you may want to, just keep in the back of your mind and consider and make sure of. Backlash, if you have that dry, that gear driven, that worm driven mount, you're not going to be able to avoid it. It is what it is. It'll never be zero. It'll just be another annoying thing that you'll have to do or have to accept, And the only really thing you might be able to do with it is down at the bottom would be kind of like hyper tuning or anything like that, or doing certain things that, you know, maybe feel a little mechanical, and, you know, and mechanically proficient, you may be able to do a few things, but it's just because of the gears, how it's designed and how it's been engineered. It's just, that's one thing you're just going to have to deal with. And one thing I learned was when it comes to backlash, the right ascension is usually much worse than the declination backlash. It is what it is. But yeah, I just wanted to make, you know, call it out there. Auto guiding, we talked about this a little bit. This is what we do to, you know, to help keep our target centered for those long exposures. In auto guiding, it sends those signals to your mount to help avoid star trailing. So when you have your EQ mount, you know, you are probably going to end up also having to maybe look into auto guiding, depending on your mount and what it can and can't do. If you like to do visual astronomy as well as imaging, it's a little bit, some of them are a little more expensive than the traditional EQ, your traditional EQ mount, because we might want to look at getting a hybrid. You know, they are, even nowadays, I think even the AM5 is actually can be considered a hybrid, because it does have an alt-as mode. So you can technically use it for visual astronomy as well as for imaging. But yeah, if you do like to do both long exposure astrophotography as well as doing you know, visual astronomy, this may be the type of mount you might want to consider. And if you're just getting started, you know, with certain types of alt-as mounts, a very good example would be the Celestron Nexstar telescopes. Like, I have the 8-inch Nexstar. If you want to get into at long exposure astrophotography, but a equatorial mount is not in your budget at the current time, you might want to consider looking into getting a wedge, because with using that wedge, you'll be able to track on the you'll be able to track equatorially, and you'll be able to do those long exposures. So if you can't afford just yet the EQ, but you really want to start doing this type of photography, this long exposure photography, I mean, it may be something you might want to consider. I personally would just say wait and just save a little bit more money, and just save the money, and just when the time comes, then go ahead and get an EQ mount. But if you just can't wait, they do manufacture wedges out there, and you can purchase those. So, and like I said, hyper tuning, that is a technique that is used to help improve the performance of your mount. So if you do have these worm gear mounts, and the tracking, or say the grease seems to be sticking a lot, like my AVX was, hyper tuning may be a service that you may want to send your mount out to have performed and have done to help improve that performance of your mount. So it may be something to consider. Just keeping that out there, just to point that out. All right, well, that is it. So appreciate it, guys. And yeah, let's continue with the questions and everything like that. So for sure.
Yeah. Nice job, Eric. Very nice job with that.
Thank you.
I love the PowerPoint, and I'd say I love the visuals. That help. I mean, I know when I picked mine out, when I got my mount, when I got my EQR6, and then I ended up getting an AVX about a year later, just because, long story short, I ended up having to send my Skywatcher. I fried the board because I don't know zippity ding dong about electronics. So I ended up frying my board, and they fixed it for me, but I got the summers off, and I ended up frying my board at the beginning of July. So I'm like, okay, I can't buy a new mount. Yeah, I can't spend a ton of money, so I ended up getting the AVX. But anyway, I mean, I was looking at it more from price point, and you know, going out there onto the interwebs and like, okay, folks, I'm new, I'm getting started at this. And the Skywatcher, the QR6 was the one that just came up over and over and over and over and over,
Yep.
So, and once I checked and I got it, and then I kind of did the same thing with the AVX. But I did not really know the difference between the three different ones. I mean, it's, the size, the portability, but as far as the worm gear and the belt driven and the harmonic and whatnot. So that was very nice.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, you mentioned the hyper tuning, and I've heard people say that. And I'm just been like, scroll. What exactly? So, okay, my first question is two-part question. First question, what exactly do they do when they hyper tune it? And two, so that's for something with the worm gear. What about belt driven? I mean, I know, okay, let's say a car, has belts. The belts need to be replaced. They need to have maintenance. I mean, is there any kind of regular maintenance that somebody that has like a belt driven, any telescope or any mount would want to do?
Yeah. Well, I can only, as far as hyper tuning, I've had my AVX mount hyper tuned. I sent it to Deep Space Products and had them do it. They're basically
like a $900 mount you had hyper tuned. It cost you $40 to get hyper tuned.
Yeah, I know. I was a newbie. I was a newbie.
I hear you. It happens.
And I hated it, but how it was performing, so I figured, let me try this. But they many times they replace the gears. They can replace the gears. They replace the lubricant and everything like that. There's a few other things that they do. Like on mine, they replaced the saddle for me. So it has a DV saddle on it instead of just the old Vixen style. So it's an expensive tune-up. It really is.
Okay.
And if you know that going into purchasing that mount, that this is one thing you are going to end up having just to deal with, and then you learn, especially through you can start learning how your mount acts, and maybe also having it learn its periodic errors and things like that. It may be something that you may not need to do, or if you feel savvy enough that you feel comfortable enough to take apart your own mount, that's one thing I didn't do. I wasn't very savvy.
I'm silly enough. I can't say savvy enough to do it, but I'm cheap enough to try it if there's a tutorial.
There is a tutorial.
I'm generally pretty good. I can follow instructions.
There are
it's kind of where things.
There's instructions out there where you can actually do it yourself.
Going on there, and and Deep Space Products actually does not do it. I actually spoke to what's his name, Ed, over at Deep, and he doesn't do it anymore. He sells you the kits now to do it yourself.
Yeah, do it yourself.
But I got my Atlas EQ done, my EQG done in April of 21. And the only reason why I got it done, I had that EQG for 7 years. Okay. And let me tell you something, one of the most underrated mounts out there. I mean, this thing was 40-pound capacity. It was the precursor to the EQ6R. And, it was made by Orion. The EQ6R was white. The Orion stuff was black. That's the only difference, was the color. The whole thing was that I started to see some funky stuff with the guiding after a while, and, after 7 years, you kind of figure, okay, well, it's either me taking it apart and replacing the gearing, the grease, and the bearings and all that, or for $150 shipping and $400, I'll have a brand new mount when you come back.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's what he did. And he did a great job with mine. I've heard it's kind of either hit and miss, kind of, when you have it done in some cases. But mine turned out really well. And I got to say, great job to Deep Space Products, at least with my mount. Really good job. And I actually ended up selling my mount close to retail price because of the hyper tuning.
Now what about, so then my second part of the question was, as far as like belt driven mounts, like the Skywatch, like the EQR6, like is there any kind of like maintenance or anything that should go into those? I guess in my mind, I'm like kind of wondering, it's been sitting under a telegizmo for years. I mean, I do bring it in sometimes, but like, is there some kind of regular maintenance I should be doing other than just going out and patting it and telling it's a good telescope every so often?
That's a good idea. I should try that.
Yeah,
I do. Every time I walk by it,
it's talk to your mount and give it a little love, give it a little, pat on it,
little belly rub, little belly rub, just a little.
Exactly.
Little scratch. I do. I told it, you a good scope. You good scope. We'll be together again soon.
You a good scope. That's a good scope.
I mean, my whole thing with maintenance and mounts, and I know as astrophotographers, we all are tinkerers. We're all tinkerers, and we all like to mess things up and take things apart. And I'll be the first one to admit, if I don't have extra parts when I'm done taking something apart and putting it back together, I did something wrong. But the whole thing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Just, you may be creating a bigger problem by trying to fix and get that 1/10 of a guiding point back. When your stars are fine.
Not so much fixing it, but preventing future problems. That, I guess, is where it's like, what should I be doing with this telescope other than, patting it on the tum-tum every so often? What should I be doing to make sure that, like, is there any kind of regular, your 3,000-mile service, whatever it is, So,
I mean, like Eric said on his presentation, there are timing belts on the EQ6R.
That's what got me thinking. When he said that, I was like, I wonder.
Okay. Over time and temperature, I think they'll, eventually. I mean, I haven't had a problem. I've had my EQ6R in and out of cold weather for 3 years now. And I have not had, and still working like the same way it worked day one, pretty much. Now, belts do not like temperature fluctuations. They don't like them. You know what I mean? So sooner or later, you will develop cracks, you will develop stretches, you will develop that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you right now, I have not heard of a situation where somebody had to switch out a belt yet, unless if it was a real serious mechanical problem.
Well, that is good to hear. I know there's some that have been working a lot harder than mine.
I mean, I don't know if you've heard of anything like that happen. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it happening, but as far as a constant occurrence, I haven't heard of it.
Pete,
basically,
have you heard?
Well, like the Mighty mount and the MX mounts and the ME2s, it's just basically just relubing annually, and it's a real simple process. Los Vandy mounts, my God, the Los Vandy mounts, you can tear those things apart, and they're like a Volkswagen. I mean, you can tear them apart and put them back together and just lube them up, and they're built like like the Bismarck. They're just made to just run all the time. But when it gets in now to the harmonic drive mounts, well, that's a whole different venue altogether. So, but don't be afraid to do any, yearly maintenance, because basically it is just yearly maintenance. The idea is that if you I call it the 7 P's: prior, proper, prevention, prevents piss poor performance. If you just do it on an annual basis, you'll have a forever mount, and you'll be quite happy with the results that it gives you.
Yeah.
Thank you much.
Let's see. Not doing worth anything until they start giving you problems. Like, but to Pete's point, if you could do some preventive stuff, that'd be great. But I'll be honest with you. I am not that person that's going to take apart a mount unless if I have a specific kind of YouTube channel that's literally doing, because some of these YouTube channels out there, they say they do something and they don't do it 100%. And you're like, well, I got my stuff all apart here. Now, how do you put it back together?
Wait, are you saying there's information out on the internet, Dan?
No, not at all. No, I would never say that. Absolutely not. No, I would not say that. But hey, you know what? I mean, there's a lot of great information out there. You know, there are a lot of people that take these things apart and do wonderful things with them. I am not one of those people. I will call my buddy DB out in the chat. I'll be DB. I need your hands. I need your help. You know what I mean? You got to take this thing apart for me. I am not a mechanical engineer. I will screw something up. Computers, no problem. Anything with gears, forget it. Computers, put together, take apart disk drives, take apart hard drives, whatever. Don't give me anything with like a timing gear or belt or anything. I will totally mess it up. Nope, not going to happen.
Not happening.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man.
Yeah, I mean, know my limitations.
Yeah.
Know your limitations.
I mean, I know how to change oil in my truck. I know how to replace the spark plugs. I know, how to do certain things around my truck. But yeah, when it comes to dealing with the belts or anything like that, or anything that if I know like Dan says, I know my limitations too. And I'd say, you know what? I'd rather pay someone who has been trained to do this stuff than with myself.
Screw it up. Screw it up. Now you're down
I wish I could say I was that smart. Because I'll get in there and I'll start tearing it apart, and then I'll be like sending pictures to somebody and be like, help.
Well, do yourself a favor. If you're going to do that, it's okay to do that, but have a backup. So have a second mount so you're not out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Have a second focuser so you're not
that's
out.
What I've got the AVX now. And, I'm kind of, again, let's say I have great ideas. I do. But, actually, will I ever try to hyper tune my AVX on my own? Probably not. I don't know.
Well, the AVX will probably be a good
thing
it
apart, try to figure it out and put it back together later.
Super bad kind of expensive loss as like, let's say, taking apart a rainbow that it's like $1,000.
If I had the money for one of those, I've got the money to pay somebody to do it. I don't have the money for one of those.
I got you. I hear you. I hear you. Well, everybody's got 4 minutes left to vote for picture of the week. So everyone's got. I'm not going to forget this week, and I'm not going to say Eric. I'm not going to let Eric get his get his word in saying, Dan, you forgot the picture of the week. So I'm not forgetting it this time. So we got 4 minutes.
And hold on. I see 43 people watching right now, and we've only got 29 likes.
30.
Y'all.
30.
What? Excuse me?
30.
Mash that like button.
Okay,
Mash that like button.
Pete, you're on 2 YouTube accounts. You only hit the button once.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm trying to remember that.
Dave's like, vote IC443.
That's funny.
So Hypertune as a service, like we said on the show, it used to be Deep Space products.
Deep Space products.
Unfortunately, he no longer does it. He just sells the kits. I don't know. I want to say Starizona might do it. Is that today? I don't know if they do it anymore. I know they.
I don't know if they do it or not. That's a good question. I don't know if they do it or not.
I don't know. I think that it's all on your own at this point. I don't know anybody else that does it, to be honest with you. Deep Space Products was the ones that were the go-to people as far as hypertuning is concerned for a long time, and unfortunately, he no longer does it. So. Yeah. Dan's Fix-It Shop. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and I just hired someone. His name is DB. He'll do it for you. And no on Starizona. Thanks, Jay. No on Starizona. So
yeah.
I really don't know. Deep Space Products is the only one that I've known that actually does it. And unfortunately, we'll all have to kind of look that up. I don't know anybody else that does it. So yeah, I'm gonna put DB in the closet of death with Jesse's AVX, and he's gonna hypertune it in the closet of death. That's what I'm gonna do. And if you've seen DB, nobody's ever seen DB's bigger than Eric, so DB's not fitting in my closet of death. So that guy's, but I'll fix any amount, any size for $19.95. He's like the slap chop guy.
Oh, wait a minute. That's Les Schwab. Les Schwab.
You're gonna love my nuts.
I'll fix any car for $19.95.
All right, 1 minute left for the picture of the week. 1 minute left. Get your last votes in. Oh, you can't. It's actually closed. It's closed. Forget it.
Okay,
No more
so
voting.
let's go.
DB is Earl Scheib. All right, so let's check it out. Let's check out the picture of the week. So here we go. Let's get it on the screen.
Choices.
And I did some switches to the screen, and unfortunately, Jesse, I got to put you in there because I only had it set for 3. So give me a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of just.
No, that's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, now I feel like every other Friday seems to be working well for me. You know, that's where I was gonna message you this first thing this morning and be like, I'm gonna be on, just so I like I'm committed. Once I tell you I'm gonna be on, I'm gonna be on. So what I need to do on Friday mornings, just shoot you a message and be like, I'm coming on.
And I'm gonna do that, and I'll do that, and there you go. So now you're on. All right, so let's do. Oh, sorry, I was watching the Islander game. Sorry, there you go.
Dan, you're glutton for punishment.
Go Islanders.
That's how it is,
win.
man.
They beat Pittsburgh, and my Brock Nelson. God, I can't stand him. He scores his 24th goal. Second hat trick. Horrible. I trade that guy. Will you just trade him anyway? So let's go to AstroWorld Web. And so for you newbies out there that don't know our website is astroworldweb.com. And you go literally right onto where it says image contest, and you can see the images that are up for picture of the week. Our last week's picture of the week is up from February 10th. That was Bloodstone with M81. And he told me that these little streaks here, these bloody eye kind of things, that's his trademark. And if you've seen his Leo Trio, he has a bloody eye in that too. So I mean, he's got what you know in the Leo Trio, it has the little spiral galaxy on the bottom. It has a hamburger galaxy, and that spiral galaxy has some bloody eye in it too. So he's like that's what I do.
So it won't be called the Black Eye Galaxy; it'll be called the Bloody Eye Galaxy, right?
There you go. That's what it is. And if you want to import anything into our Google Drive and enter your pictures in for a picture of the week, all you got to do is hit the Google Drive, and then you drop it in there. As you can see, there's nothing there right now because they're all up. So there you go. So the pictures of the week, here we go. First one, Tom Peters Rosette.
Ooh.
Second one, AZ4 Runner's horse head and a little bit of the flame.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Peters M45.
Oh, I like that.
And an upside down monkey's head by Billy Beckett.
Like it.
I'm sitting on my head.
I guess
I'm
it's
sitting
not
on
really
my head.
I guess there's no up and down in space though, so I guess that's kind of relative. So then we got M78, and
The boogeyman.
I don't know who that is. No name. Then we got IC443, Dave Schaefer, Mr. Capitals. Big Capital fan, Dave. And then Josh Kovac's revamp of his Lagoon and Triffid.
Okay.
And another Horsehead and Flame by Kevin Rasso.
Kevin
Nice.
Rasso?
Very nice, guys.
So it's 84. We got 84 votes. And Dave Barnett is texting me, come on over. All right. So here we go. So let's go in and let's take a look and see who won, because it was kind of, let's see, And let's see what we got here. You can't see my password anyway. It doesn't matter. And we also got to give away a free Masters of Pixinsight workshop tonight too. So we got to do that. All right, here we go. So image of the week ending February 17th. Let's see the results. 84 votes. One more vote than last week. So let's see for next week if we
Those numbers are jumping up though.
Yeah, 99, 95, 44.
Nice.
83. And I got and I know
Thank you guys. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. I got to give a shout out to Dylan Bloodstone. He's been retweeting our tweets, and he's got a lot of followers on Twitter, and he has been really driving a lot of these votes. But hey, you know what? It's pretty cool that we're getting this type of recognition. So here we go. Results.
Here we go.
And Tom Peters, M45.
M45.
With just about half the votes there. A little bit more, 53% of the votes. So
congratulations, nice job, Tom Peters.
Sorry, Dave. Capitals lose again. But Tom, nice job. And you'll be in the running for the February picture of the month. So congratulations.
Awesome.
Yeah, great image. Congrats.
Really good image. Really good. I love
yeah, it was. That was a lot of detail in that. I really like that.
All over the place was great.
Yes.
Pretty unbelievable.
Yes.
Nice job. And then we got to do Dan, yeah.
Dan, go back to the specs on that, please. You got to look at this. Look at the specs. 144 subs at 5 minutes each. Yep. How many hours is that? Look, do the calculations on that.
So that's 5.
amazing.
That's 720 minutes. So that's what?
720 divided by 60, right?
Yeah. So that's
it's 12 hours.
12 hours.
But look at the detail. Look at the detail. Look at Merope. Look at Merope. I mean, he's really got the nebulosity around Merope. I mean, we really should look at this image because it is a beautiful,
pull that back up again. There it is.
I love it. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, that is.
Yeah, I just love the wispies. I don't know what is there a term for those little wispy tendrils there?
Yes, it's wispy tendrils.
Hey, I got it. I was good. I was all prepared to write it next down to my notes. I'm taking my notes right next to the Bach globules. I remembered that. I still can't pronounce it, but I remembered it.
You know what I really love about this photo though? And I wish I could zoom in a little bit more on the web. I could do it on the other one, but he's got this detail in here.
Yes.
That's unbelievable here. And you know what the coolest thing about this entire picture to me is? This star. Right here. That's the one red star and the whole thing. Everything else is almost blue with the exception of a couple of stars. But this one's nice and bright. And
but you know what is that I do like about this, not just it's how well the Seven Sisters are not overpowering.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
they're not overpowering because those are some bright freaking stars. And
well, so often
he's got it very, very well managed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so often, Eric, you see, like every time I see M45, I mean, more. I'm sure I probably have, maybe, but just don't recall it. Maybe it's not just been like right in my face, but I don't see that those wispy tendrils, because I think the Seven Sisters just kind of overpower the image. I don't listen. I can look at 100 M45 and just not see that detail. And you did really good job.
Yeah. See here, I'm gonna give you an example real quick. I have to share my screen because this is what I'm talking about. Why I like this image a lot, right? So there's mine.
Mhm.
You see how bright and overpowering those stars are?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and you can kind of see what's supposed to be under there, but just trying to tame those stars so
They're
you can
trying
actually
to tame
get
those
the,
stars. Now,
Yes.
you know, yeah, that's why I personally voted for that for that image myself, because I thought it was just great. I really did.
You brought up a good point, Eric, is that the stars don't overpower. But you know what's interesting? What I find interesting on this image is look at the linear lines. There's diagonal lines, there's horizontal lines, there's vertical lines. Look at the detail that shows you the detail that's been pulled out of this. I mean, this is really a good image to show you pulling out the details. It is. Dan, can you pull up one more time?
Yeah, just give me 1 second here. And
Yeah, see, Chris is even asking, how do you get 5-minute subs on that bright of a star, on that star cluster? How bright it is.
he's also using a 6200.
Deep well.
Yeah, huge well. He's only binned it 1 by 1, and we still don't know what kind of Tom. If you're there, I know you were there before, but if you could tell us what Bortle sky you're in as well, that'd be really interesting to know.
Because what I've read about this young star cluster is that they're moving together as a cluster, but they're going through this arm within the Milky Way that there's a lot of nebulosity. And so the star's luminosity is reflecting this luminosity. But I mean, the transition from the blue nebulosity on the east side or the right side, you notice it goes from the blue to the shading. I mean, look at that detail.
Yeah.
It is a very, very good image. Very good image, Tom.
And this, you know what? And you brought up and in the chat they brought up a very good point, the well depth. Using that 6200, this is when we talk about, you know, certain pieces of equipment like these dedicated cameras, that well depth, because my shot that I took was with the 533.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like nothing. That well depth is nothing compared to the 62.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And mine was almost 40. Mine was just almost 40 300-second shots. And he had what, over 100?
Yep.
This is what we, you know, when we talk about the equipment we use.
And that's interesting. We'll be discussing that next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be our topic, so that'll be a perfect segue.
Just copying the new names. Putting it in the. All right. Here we go. So we're almost at 150 members on the Masters of Pixinsight wheel. We have 149. I gotta save it. All right. So this is for the free Masters of Pixinsight workshop. Next one is Masks Unmasked. I believe it's on the 17th of March, a month from today. Let's see if I'm right on that. I think it's March. March 21st. My fault. But here we go. And if you don't like that, you don't want to learn about masks, you can do whatever you want. You can get whatever one you want. So you want WVPP, you want dialing down the noise, or whatever it is, you can get whatever you want. So here we go. Number one. No whammies, no whammies. Stop. Oh man, almost a Protostar winner won, Brian Boerma, but you didn't win this time. Kevin Criado, congratulations, Kevin.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we'll send you an email, and Pete will get back to you regarding how to redeem your your voucher for the next class. So there you go. Congratulations. Very cool. So Eric, on a side note, I know it's 10:06, but did you take a look at my ASI Air video or no?
I did not. I'm sorry, I did not. I know.
It's up anyway. I did a premiere. It's up anyway. It's fine.
I will though, but no, I
no support for my offspring.
You suck.
You're late. You didn't watch it. What are you doing? You're doing nothing. What are
you doing?
Eat, sleep, astrophotography. That's what we do.
That's it. That's it.
Not talking.
Absolutely.
I did it. I think there's only like 200 views, but you know it's pretty old because it's old technology now. Everyone's done a video on the Mini, but I just wanted to do it anyway. So
there you go.
But there you go.
Oh, good.
Yeah. All right. So it's 10:07, and we did the picture of the week. We did the giveaway, and I think we are finished for the evening.
Wow.
All right. So I guess running around. Final thoughts for everybody. How about that? We'll do that, and we'll do Jerry's final thoughts, and go watch the Islander post-game show because they actually won. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. Again, sorry for being late, but I hope you got a little bit out of the about the presentation. It was a lot. Personally, it was fun doing it. Fun learning a bit more on mounts and how they work. There's so many different ones, and yeah, I am definitely gonna have to start getting into the budget for a new mount myself. Yeah, it's about time, especially after doing this research. Yeah, Dan got my mount.
What?
Exactly. Dan has my.
I'm giving it the belly rub.
Yeah.
At least it's been outside on the floor. At least peppered it and pee on it. That's a good thing. So.
Yeah, but seriously, no, it was a fun. I hope everybody enjoyed it. As much as I enjoyed putting it together, and I learned something new. So I hope somebody did too. Taking it as well in. So I appreciate it. Oh Lord, here we go.
And it's coming through in a couple of weeks.
There it is.
It'll be shipped to you in a couple of weeks, buddy.
Oh, there you go. Thank you so much.
35?
No, that's 300. See, there is many like it, but this one is mine.
Yeah, exactly.
That is actually a project that Pete and I are working on in concert together. There's a doctor in Jersey that we're working with and getting his Astro Haven and his entire disaster of a it's not a disaster, but it's a nice setup, and we're looking forward to going down there and hanging out a couple days and just putting it all together for him. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, Mark, you're right. I probably am going to have to learn Nina, but I think actually they did put it in. They did add it to the list. So the Knicks, I think they did add the Knicks to the ASI Airs mount list.
No, listen, it was already there. There's a little kind of thing that happened with the Pegasus really quick, and I'm not going to get too crazy into it. It was in the drivers. It was there, and it worked fine for a couple of weeks. And then the update came out. Something happened with the meta keywords with the update just for the Knicks. And when you tried to connect, or actually you couldn't even connect, it wasn't even in the list anymore of compatible mounts. And it just happened to be the day after that they went on Lunar New Year leave. So there was a lot of yelling and screaming over cloudy nights between ZWO and Pegasus and a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever happened. When they came back, literally within a couple of days, it was fixed. Everything is fine. You can use the Pegasus. As far as I know, with the ASIR.
ASIR.
As according to Simon Lewis, it was fixed within a couple of days. So it was just a mess up. It was not on purpose.
Eric, I think people are needing to see your tree. I feel like
they're getting total tree withdrawal. Here.
I spent all that time covering it up. Now you guys want it back.
Take the dress off now.
Eric, the tree is your Scott's T-shirt.
You know what you should have done? You should have thrown a piece of cheese on it.
Oh my god!
All it needs is cheese and a ketchup potato chip, and you're good.
I'll put a slice of Swiss on the top, right there next to the star.
I got to put this comment up on the screen because I think it's funny.
Oh man!
Tim said, "I came here for the tree."
I came here for the tree.
You see what happens is people are so used to seeing everything the way it was. Which make it change.
Here, I'm gonna make everybody happy.
There it is.
Hey, motion number 9. Da 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 da.
There it is. There it is. Merry Christmas, everybody! February!
And I'm having really bad images of that.
That is awesome.
Shot now. I'm really having
man.
Just don't go down to the jocks crap, okay, Eric? You know.
That is awesome.
Love it.
That's funny.
There you go.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Tree.
Okay, could this officially be considered off the rails? Because I don't think you've run that clip.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that
I think you need to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
This
all
is
right.
So off of it.
All right.
There it is.
There you go. Got the tree and the off the rails. All right.
And I got so there's going to be an off the rails giveaway at NEAF, by the way. And I'm not saying what it is yet, but hopefully I got some feelers out there, and Jesse knows what I'm talking about. You know, there's going to be an off the rails kind of thing. It's going to be a nice if it could happen. I got a couple of feelers out there to make a 3D printed kind of thing. So I don't want to say what it is yet. I'm not telling you what it is, Dylan. I'm not telling you.
Eric's
got
tree.
the head going back and forth. No, it's not a bobblehead.
No, it's not a bobblehead. And
it's my
probably
tree.
Not Eric's tree.
Yeah, it's Eric's tree in a box. And I'm gonna have Justin Timberlake singing in the background.
Oh my god! Freaking awesome, man!
Oh god!
That's great.
All right, everybody.
Well, great show tonight, guys. Eric, the great presentation. I love the visuals. I love the visuals. They help. Yep. No, nice job.
Yep. You sound like
great show.
You sound like Wicket from Star Wars. Yep.
Yep.
Right on.
Oh god, that's funny.
Pete.
Oh,
final thoughts, Pete.
Just a great show, Eric. Great presentation. Animations on the presentation, fantastic. I mean, it really was a very good presentation. And Jesse's good to see you back on. Every 2 weeks, we'd expect you to be back on. Good. And Dan is always great. Yep. And then, hey, we still have, and we talked about it last week, but nobody stepped up. Let's find out what member would, maybe DB would be interested, but let's have somebody to come up, step up and talk about the interpretation of the graphs and the numerical values in PhD2. I think that would be a good topic.
Ooh.
because
be fun.
everybody looks at these numbers and they just say, well, how do I know what my guiding is? What do these numbers mean? So I really think that that we could do a show on that. So I'm going to leave that open. Let's see if one of the members would be interested in stepping up and doing that presentation.
I could do it in about 3 minutes. Ready? Here you go. I live in New York. I'm gonna make myself full screen for this because there you go. I live in New York, the worst seeing on the planet next to Dubai. I don't give a crap what the numbers are. Because you know why? My seeing is so friggin' bad that no matter what I'm guiding at, I am not chasing seeing for anything. So as long as I'm under 1, I don't care because my stars are going to be round. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Is that your TED Talk?
No, you want my TED? I'll do my TED Talk. You don't want that one. That's not. I'm going to start doing the Jamie Tart song. All right, cool. All right, everybody. Well, again, have a good night, everybody. We what a great show, Eric. I can't. Every time you do a presentation, it's great. So great job with that, man. Really good. It's pretty awesome because you do put a lot of time and effort into those, and we do appreciate it. I was making fun of you that you actually put some time into it, but you know what? It means a lot that you did put all that time into it. So thank you so much for doing that.
Hey, and if anybody has comments, and wants to even, I don't know everything. I'm gonna let you guys know right now. I don't know everything, but what I do know, I can be a little dangerous. So just watch out.
I know just enough to be half dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm. I know enough to say I'm getting a nix. There you go.
One of these days, I really want to do get similar scopes. Well, not even close to similar scopes. I mean, you could use your FLT 91. I'll use my 130. Maybe Jesse could use what do you got, Jesse? The
127.
127, which is close to my 130. And Pete, all he has is plane waves, so we can't use Pete. But
he's got the good stuff.
Yeah, he's got the good
stuff.
It's like too far away. But we could make a literal compilation of an object. We should do it this summer. And
I like that.
Take all of the data that we can get from Delaware, from Chicago, from New York, and Pete from California. Get it all together and compile it and put it into like 100-hour whatever thing or a 70-hour thing and just throw it all together and we'll pick an object and we'll just put it all together.
Somebody do luminance. Somebody do luminance. Somebody do HA. Somebody do O3.
Yeah,
somebody
do that too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like whoever has the darkest.
This summer, it's probably going to have to be in Cygnus. Because pretty much that's all I'm going to see ever from my yard in the summer, all summer.
That's okay. The only thing I'm seeing is probably, Deneb and Vega. That's, it's horrible. It's horrible here. It's horrible in New York. It's the worst.
Horrible. You sound like Trump. Horrible. Just horrible.
Horrible.
Unbelievable.
That would actually be fun, and we all, for us to do that. And I mean, dang it, I need to, I'm going to stop. I need to stop having ideas because I have more ideas than I have, whatever to put it together. But, that could be something that we could even put out to, our audience, to our viewers. Like, hey, would you guys want to be in on this collab and see, that would be kind of really cool.
Yeah. Why? I think that would be cool. Like what Pete said, everyone picks a filter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Dan
does RGB, somebody does luminance, somebody does HA, somebody does O3. We just flap it all together and see what we come up with.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
You need to remember that. I'm gonna write it down.
You write that down. Write it down. Write it down. You're the teacher. Just don't write it with a red pen, okay?
I'm not. I use purple.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, have a good night. You know, I think it's time to go. It's a good night, sweetheart. We're gonna start singing it in a second. But
turn out the lights, the party's
it's
over.
All right, everybody. Don't forget this Wednesday coming up, we got Bob Denny coming on Ascom Alpaca. So definitely come on.
Ascom Alpaca, awesome.
Yeah, it's
New
gonna be
update.
cool. It's gonna be a great show. And we're gonna be doing a giveaway yet again. And hopefully we're gonna get some filters from Optilong. I'm still waiting to hear from them. They're still, I really think they're still catching up from the Lunar New Year. I think that a month later, I think that they're still, or 2 weeks later. I think they're still catching up and they're a little bit busy, but it's going to be cool to see what they give us, especially if they give it to us by need. That'll be nice. But
it'd be nice.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, have a good night. Take care, and we'll see you on Wednesday night. Enjoy your weekend. I think Saturday night on the East Coast is looking pretty good for the Stars. I think it's going to be a good night tomorrow night. Winds are going to go down 12 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour.
You're getting what I've got right now, man. I'm out there doing it right now. So
nice.
Hey, it's coming your way.
So tomorrow night is going to be the thing. So I mean, hopefully we're going to be good to go. So everybody, again, hey, have a good night, and remember as always to keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And we'll see you on Wednesday night.
I got clear skies tonight.
We
Rub it in, Eric.
now. We hate Eric now.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.